arms towards the sun. You feel the warmth of the rays, and then you know you're alive, and you don't have to be afraid of anything, 'cause
Welcome to the Bassline. Kristi Yapp is an artist and a Substack author who chronicles the painful ordeal experienced by her late mother after receiving a COVID injection. Creative and courageous, it is with great gratitude that I welcome to the Bassline Kristi Yapp. How are you this afternoon, Kristi?
I am doing okay. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
My sound okay?
Yes, you sound very clear.
Okay, good.
So a couple quick announcements before we get into this important conversation. The next 528 Frequency Jam is going to be January 25th at Rockmill. That's a Sunday, and it's the usual time, 3:30 are the doors, very modest entry fee, and yeah, we'd love to see you there. We're building it up. Last time it snowed, and we still had a good group of folks there. But in case you were discouraged that day by the weather, please make sure to come through the next time, January 25th, the next 528 Frequency Jam. So save the date, spread the word. We'd love to see you there. Also, Substack. Please go to my Substack and make sure you're a subscriber, first of all. Please check out my interview with Jimmy Dore. I had the honor of interviewing Jimmy Dore, and it's the first video I've published on Substack. I like to focus on the articles, but certainly I made an exception for that historic interview. And please go listen to it, like it, share it. Right now it's sitting on a very modest 18 likes, which is less than all of my articles. And I want to make the most of this incredible opportunity. I interviewed Jimmy Dore, who has 1 million subscribers and 1 billion views on YouTube. So please like it on Substack, on the Bassline YouTube channel, on X. Help spread the word about it. Please help me get into that arena of open source media analysts like Jimmy Dore, like two-time guest of the Bassline, Ryan Christian, like James Corbett. I think those guys are brilliant, but there's still room for some additional perspectives and insights, I would say. Also, you can support this program by buying music at jeremiahhosea.com, jeremiahhosea.com. Please buy a song, like the theme song of this show, buy an album. And last of all, we have the opportunity to study chess. I am the founder of remotelearningchess.com. I take great pride in the lessons that I give on a daily basis, and I would love to share the game of chess with you. If you're experienced and you need some more fuel for the fire, please contact me. If you never learned how to play and always meant to, please contact me just the same. I will teach you patiently from scratch. And yeah, chess is for everyone. It's not a matter of being the next Bobby Fischer. It's a matter of learning life lessons through the game of chess. So those are the different ways you can support this program, and I kindly do ask for your support. I do have a wife and 2 young children to feed, and I would love to get to the point that this program is sustaining itself. I'm still not there yet after 2 years. It's very much a labor of love, and I would love if you guys help me get this over ground, right? We don't want this show to be an underground thing. We want people to be aware of this show and to tune in on a regular basis. So please help me grow the audience, help me spread awareness about what we're doing here every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Progressive Radio Network. Now, today's guest is someone I came across on Substack, and she is engaged in a very admirable effort to document the ordeal of her mother, whose health deteriorated after receiving, I'm not sure if it's 1 or more COVID injections. And it's very important that we don't let these tragedies go undocumented. So I really commend Kristi for being so diligent in documenting this ordeal that her mother experienced and that she experienced alongside her mother. And we've had, of course, doctors and scientists on this program. We've had journalists, we've had artists, we've had the vaccine injured, and we have had the vaccine bereaved. And it's important that we continue to fight this fight, because as of now, no one has paid a legal penalty for these crimes against humanity. The vaccine injured remain largely ignored, and we haven't corrected anything systemically to prevent this type of crime from happening again. In fact, I think they've set the stage quite well for further crimes against humanity, hence my dedication to this work. And I don't want my children growing up in a biosecurity state. I don't want my children growing up under technocratic rule. I don't want my children growing up in a situation where the government, in collusion with criminal corporations, says that you have to take dangerous experimental drugs to return to work, to participate in society. I mean, you know, the concerns here are so obvious to me that I continue to scratch my head wondering how so many people have ignored the magnitude of what has occurred, and even people who I think know better have allowed themselves to sort of forget, have lost their discipline. People who started out being actively involved in the medical freedom movement, I call it the right to say no movement, a lot of those folks are missing in action at this point, and we have to re-recruit people who were already outspoken in the first place, and then we need people who are injured to gain the courage to speak out about what's happened to them, because there are many people who are vaccine injured. They know they're vaccine injured, but they don't want to take on the Herculean task of fighting a political battle while struggling with their health. And so many other categories of people. You know, there are people who said the vaccine mandates were wrong, but didn't speak out against that anywhere. And just so many different categories. And, you know, we need to just bring as many people into this discussion and start tipping the scales. So that's the focus of this program. And with that, I'd like to ask you, Kristi, tell us, if you could, how you were oriented as the whole COVID event was unfolding and as they started mentioning these life-saving vaccines that everyone should take, and ultimately many people were mandated to take. What was your reaction to the introduction of these experimental shots? Were you against it from the beginning? Did you think it was a good thing and realize it was a bad thing? What was your experience in regard to that?
Well, I think my story, like all of our stories, probably goes back to 2020. That's when, like, everything changed for me, or started to change. My life now is a completely different thing than it was then. Like, I'm a whole different person. In 2020, I had been a preschool teacher for 30 years. And in that, I had studied brain development quite a bit. I had a very good understanding of young children, how they grow, what they need, blah, blah, you know. Anyway, and that just comes in later. And then, you know, one day in March, by then I was in the administration, though. When COVID happened, I was what was called a teacher coach, so I trained other teachers. So in March, all of a sudden, one day, you know, we were hearing about this disease, and then suddenly we were working from home, just out of the blue, right? You remember?
Yep.
And so, you know, we were going through that, and we were just, and I believed it at first. Like, it was a shock. Like, oh, my God, there's this horrible disease. And they said that 1 in 5 people was going to die. I remember that specifically because there were 5 people living in my household. And I was like, well, shit, one of us is going to die?
Yeah, and Africa was going to be wiped off the face of the earth.
Right? 1 out of us 7, it had to happen because that's what the TV said. And that's what I thought. So I was, you know, I was involved in my job in, like, planning the virtual schooling for preschoolers, which, you know, looking back, how does that even make sense at all? But I did. I helped plan it. I helped implement it. But little by little, then we started talking about bringing the kids back. So anyway, the whole virtual school thing really was a failure. We started talking about how much time do we have?
Oh, yeah, exactly. The show ends at the top of the hour, so
okay,
45 minutes to go.
So, but then we were talking about the kids coming back to school, and the plans that we were putting in place for 3, 4, and 5-year-olds, well, actually babies too. Our program was from 6 weeks old. And this was for all of Cook County, Illinois, by the way. I worked for a large agency, which is Chicago and all the suburbs. A lot of people are affected. What they were talking about, the plans they were making to implement when the children returned to the classroom, was the opposite of what children need. The absolute opposite. Like, they're not allowed to play together. They're not allowed to touch each other. They had to wear masks. Children from 2 years old and up wore masks all day. Their teachers wore masks. They're learning to speak. They can't see the teacher's mouth. They can't hear the teacher's. It was just like, and that's when I woke up. So I went to a lot of meetings then, and I was talking against all of this, and I was the only one. And in one meeting, I said, this was far into it, we were still masking kids. And in one meeting, I said, more kids have died in Illinois this year of gunshot wounds than of COVID. If we're trying to protect these kids, we should be putting bulletproof vests on them, not masks. And I was told in that meeting to stop going down rabbit holes. And I'm like, well, it's true, though. It's like so then the vaccines came along. They were mandated at my job. I refused to take it. I did not have there was a religious exemption that we could have. I chose not. I did not have anyone who was willing to sign that for me, actually, because the churches were also afraid. So I wrote a letter about my own ethical beliefs, my own moral beliefs, because the moment that they said that there was even a possibility of there being fetal tissue in the vaccine, it struck me as evil. And then I started looking more into that and finding that there's fetal tissue in many of the products that we use. And it just struck me as evil. That was it, and I wasn't going to do it. And then I started learning more and more about it. So in January of 2022, I was fired from my job. I had worked there for 15 years, and I was excellent at my job. Not, I am humble, but that's just true.
Yeah, no point in false modesty. No point in false modesty. If you're great at your job, then...
Yeah, I will do my best to tell the truth as I see it, which I'm not a truth teller, so what I believe might not be the truth, because who knows. But that's what I'm going to do. So, yes, I was fired from my job. I was told that I would be fired 2 weeks from that day, so I had like a last little chance to get that vaccine in there, And my agency was giving vaccines to their employees directly. They had like little events and stuff. It was all crazy. So because I was in the administration, I had access to the entire agency's email list, it's a huge agency, a huge non-for-profit. So that night I wrote an email and said, because I have worked here so long and because I've worked so closely with so many of you, I feel that I should explain what's going on. And I told them, I was being terminated for not taking the vaccine, that, whatever anybody else chose to do, I fully respect it, but that's what I choose, yada, yada, yada. And I was even a good writer then, so it was kind of a strong email. And people started answering me. So I started getting answers back. Some people were like, I respect your bravery. Some people said, They hadn't taken it yet, but they weren't sure what they would do. They couldn't lose their jobs. And these are like preschool teachers. They're not high-income people.
Mm-hmm.
And these were not high-income neighborhoods. Other people said, they believed in it and took it, but they respect, everybody else's choice. So I'm getting these emails, but I was on my work computer on the VPN, and it went out. It just went out. I no longer had access. And then the next day I got a call from my manager, and she said, "Why aren't you on the Zoom meeting?" And I was like, "What Zoom meeting? I don't have access." And she said, "Went to your personal email." I was like, "Okay, hang on." So I went on the Zoom meeting, and I was terminated that day, not for not taking the vaccine, for writing the email. Anyway,
yeah,
that was January of 2022. My mom and my dad, they fully believed in the vaccine. While I was trying to convince the world, I tried to convince them too. Like many, many people, it did put stress on a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I did still see my mom. It wasn't like total shunning or anything, but we were having a harder and harder time talking to each other. I was very, like, you have to listen to me, because I'm looking at this and like, you're going to die. And my mom had been a nurse. She believed in the medical system. She believed what the TV was saying. She was an incredibly kind person. And the TV said that for you to be perceived as kind, you have to do this thing. You have to help humanity. And that's the kind of person she was. And they took advantage of that. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
And they took advantage of that for so many people. It's just so sad, isn't it?
It's terrible.
Anyway, I knew my mom would get sick before she got sick. And I knew that I would help her. That I already knew. Because the writing was on the wall, right? I was just sort of waiting for it. Because when my mom got sick, all these turbo cancers were coming out. Like, you were seeing these stories of people, like young people, got cancer and they were dead 2 weeks later. Right?
Yep.
So I got fired from my job. I got this little job at a little church daycare. I was their 2-year-old teacher. I was having fun. But when I got fired, by the way, we didn't have a backup plan for that. We didn't have, like, money set aside. It was just a leap of faith. I would recommend a leap of faith to anyone out there. So anyway, June 5th, I believe was the day. Oh, no, in June, I got a text from my mom in the morning that said, "I'm going to the emergency room. I got this pain and I've got this lump." And I said, "Okay, I'll meet you there." And she said, "Well, Dad said it'll take me 10:30, like a little." And I said, "Well, I could just take you now." And so I went and picked her up. We lived very close to each other. I lived in the town where I grew up. I picked her up. I took her to the emergency room. At first, they kept saying she was constipated. And then, in the end, they said she had a hernia. But there were so many mistakes. I'll skip a lot of that part too, but it was out of the blue. My mom was an incredibly healthy person. She was a lifelong Weight Watcher. She had lost a ton of weight in the 70s. She kept it off. She was just like militant about what she ate. She ate lean meats. She ate organic fruits and vegetables. She drank water. She exercised every day. She had more energy than a 20-year-old. She was the last person who should get sick.
Yeah.
And that's just true. She volunteered at food pantries. She volunteered at the homeless shelters. She was a retired nurse. She helped everyone. It was like her mission in life, just to help people. She never thought about herself. It's just, and I know it's like I make her sound like a saint. She had, obvious faults too. Like, she was gullible, I suppose. But she was a good person. And so all of a sudden she had this pain in her groin. She had this lump. We go to the hospital. They were saying it was constipation. They said she had a hernia. They did these tests. By the time she left the hospital, this lump in her groin had, like, quadrupled in size. You could see it bigger every day. Her pain just was getting worse and worse and worse already, just from day one. And they sent her home and said she had constipation and a hernia. She kept saying it wasn't true. They told her to take Motrin and take it easy. They did tests. They checked her pancreas. They said it was clear because there were some signs, like there was some swollen ducts. And they said that was a sign of pancreatic cancer, but they did the endoscopy. Her pancreas was clear on that day. And we went home, and her pain it was otherworldly. It was unbelievable how much pain she's in. And that's, where I have so much compassion for people who must also be going through this. They talk to us about this like these are numbers. There's like, who knows how many people have been affected? Millions, billions? Who knows? There's people all over the world, right?
Yeah.
And we get no information, nothing real.
No. And then there are what I call the built-in cover-ups. For example, anyone over 60 years old, you never know when you're going to go. If someone's 70, even more so,
and
80,
did get
90.
Pancreatic cancer before, I know.
Anyone who had a pre-existing condition. We have people who had whatever condition, they manage their condition rather well, take their shots, they die. They died of diabetes. They died of lupus. Well, they didn't have these radical symptoms until they took the killer vaccine.
Right. And, yeah, obviously it's possible my mom would have gotten pancreatic cancer anyway. Who knows? Only God knows. But I know what I believe, right?
Absolutely.
I know what I experienced, and that's all I can know.
Yeah, and and that's part of, I think, the agenda of deception is trying to completely negate people's firsthand accounts of their own experience. That's anecdotal. Well, anecdotal evidence is some of the very best form of evidence possible.
And I'll tell you what, if I hadn't written this down, I would have forgotten it.
Yeah.
So my mom, her illness progressed incredibly. It was incredibly fast. A few weeks after her pancreas was clear, she had metastatic pancreatic cancer. She also had B-cell lymphoma. She had just been treated for melanoma. So my mom was healthy one day. The next day she had 3 kinds of cancer, and everything about the medical system caused her more suffering and more pain. And if you want to read my book, that's what you'll read about. I mean, it's not an easy thing to read. I know that.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it. While my mom was sick, my son also died.
Oh, my God.
Of a fentanyl overdose.
Oh, my God.
He was one of the 100,000 young Americans to die that year. So if that's not an attack.
Yeah, my condolences.
That's also in the book. And then on December 13th, my mom, 6 months later, she died. Her cancer spread to her spine, and the tumors were growing so fast that they fractured her spine from the inside.
Oh, my God.
And, I mean, she suffered. It was just... when she died, it was like mercy, finally. And what I'll say is the medical system just held on to her so long, so much further past the time when compassion would tell you to just leave her be now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I, in the moment when we were going through it, I didn't, I quit my job. I managed my mom's whole disease. I took care of her. I took care of everything. Having been a preschool teacher, it just made me prepared for that. Because when you're with young children, you can't really think much about yourself when you have 23-year-olds and 4-year-olds and you're attending to all of their needs.
Yeah.
So I quit the little job I had, and I attended to all of her needs.
Yeah.
And it was very, it was a powerful experience. It was like a spiritual experience. It was a very difficult experience. It was an experience of profound love. And that's also in the book, so that's the good part. Anyway, sorry, I talk a lot.
No, it's okay. These are very sad to hear, but important facts that you're sharing with us. And I want to direct everyone to your Substack. If you guys could please subscribe to Kristi's Substack. It's Kristi with a K, Kristi, last name Yapp. So please subscribe to Kristi Yapp. She's approaching 1,000 subscribers. Let's get her over that hump. I'm approaching now 3,000 subscribers. Please help me get over that hump. Mm-hmm. Last week's guest, Dr. Nanda, who's phenomenal, she just started her Substack right after appearing on this program. So please look her up on Substack, DocNanda, Doc Nanda. She's already published a really important paper about eye health, which is available on her Substack. And I would really appreciate if you guys could help to be the wind beneath our wings, because it just, honestly, it moves very slowly. I make a shout out on this program and it's like, oh, cool, 1 or 2 people checked it out. I know we can do better than that. There are hundreds of people listening right now. At times we have over 1,000 people listening to our live broadcast. Can we, pardon the pun, can we move the needle a little bit? Can we start making a difference in terms of spreading the word? It's great to have the knowledge. It really is important to have the knowledge. But let's not be content with that until we have shared the knowledge with others. And we can be tactical about doing so. So please subscribe to Kristi's Substack. Again, that's Kristi with a K, Yapp, Yapp. And, let's help spread the word about these unpleasant stories, but it's the truth that people need to hear, and this needs to be acknowledged. We cannot have our loved ones killed in this manner, and then we go quietly into the night. Absolutely not. We need to speak up, and we need to face the unpleasant, the more than unpleasant, the horrific reality that has been unfolding for, over 5 years now when this nightmare began. I'd like to ask you, Kristi, in terms of the term turbo cancer, which I had never heard before the rollout, how did you become aware of turbo cancers, and how did you make that connection that your mother was suffering from vaccine?
Yeah, when my mom was sick
cancer
is when that term popped up, right, into the media, appeared. And, I was obviously reading about it, and, I just said, that's what's happening. That's what this is.
Yeah.
A lot of people in my mom's life did not believe that to be true. My mom, I don't know if she ever believed this to be true.
Yeah.
Like, we just didn't talk about the vaccine anymore when she was sick. I just took care of her. Like, what's there to talk about then, right? And there was no reason for me to say, I was right.
Right. Yeah.
So, she didn't want to, we just didn't talk about it. We just went through this thing. And then she died December 13th. So all of that was 2022. And then 2023 rolled around. And that's where we're going to get into where I ended up writing all of this down. So while my mom was sick, I have always been a creative person. I always crocheted and made all of my Christmas gifts for people and stuff like that, right? So while my mom was sick, I started making these really intricate, strange, what's called freeform, not with a pattern, hats. It was just where all my stress, feeling trauma, I was just doing that whenever she was sleeping, when I was waiting at a doctor's office. And I put pictures on Facebook. So about 2 weeks after my mom died, a lady who had known my mom, who was involved in this art gallery, called me and said I should come over and bring some of these things that I've been making. And so I did. And after my mom died, I was, I was in a profound state of grief. I was absolutely traumatized. I had severe PTSD from all of it. And I just could not think at all. Just I was in a daze, right? I was just sort of wandering around. But I still had all this energy. And this lady said, you should come and show us your stuff. And so I did that. Just whatever anybody said to me, I was so suggestible. I was like, okay, I'll just do what she said then. Because I didn't know what to do. So I went and I showed these people my hats and this shawl that I had made. And they put it in this show, in this gallery show. And somehow I ended up renting studio space there at this gallery, and I was there at this art gallery just making art. Like, this was just out of the blue. It was never a plan. Like, I did actually want to be an artist when I was around 18. I went to art school for a year, but that fell apart and life went a different direction. And I thought that I was going to retire from the place where I had worked. I thought that I would work there till I retired. I was perfectly content. We had, we were middle class, comfortable, not rich, but, it would all be fine. My husband was also a teacher. So, and also my husband retired during this time because the heat was on at his job too. He worked for a state university and he was able to retire, so he just retired and took his pension. So yeah, my mom died. I started making art at the art gallery. And then I said, I don't want to live here anymore.
Yeah.
And so we actually were renting the house we were in because it was meant to be a temporary house anyway. But suddenly our rent was about to go up like $400 a month. It was already kind of high. And I said, I just don't even want to live here anymore. And so we bought a house, and my husband's, he got this little lump sum for his pension. So we took that, and we bought a house in the middle of a cornfield in rural Indiana, which is where we are now. We just left the city. We left it all. I said, the only way to fight against the system is just to stop depending on the system.
Yeah.
And anyway, and then I was also traumatized. So on the anniversary of the day before I took my mom to the hospital, I opened my Facebook and I wrote, on this day last year, my mom was healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote about how she was healthy. And then the next day, I opened my Facebook and I wrote again. And it was not a plan I had. I wasn't planning a book or anything like that. And then I did that every single day for the 6 months, 1 year after the day that it happened. And I had very good records of what happened because I had all of our text messages. I had all of the photographs. I had, set up this online care journal thing in some program where I could keep people updated. I had all of what I had written there. I had all of the medical records. And I was in this profound state of PTSD, and I just kept reliving these events in my head. And so I just started writing it all down. And that's what I did. And it's all true. It's all what happened with the doctors, what happened with the disease. It's, gory. It's my impression of what those things are, what I thought it all meant, and how it all felt, and what we went through. And I was really angry. It's an angry book, too. I wrote it because I was angry. I was angry at the people who didn't believe me.
Mm-hmm.
I was writing it at them. I've calmed down since then a bit. And I think a lot of us are angry. There's a lot of anger and a lot of blame going around, and on both sides, on all the sides, everybody's, convinced they're right, and everybody's convinced that everybody who doesn't agree with them is ruining everything or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that anger has a lot to do with not wanting to feel the grief, because that's what anger does. And I have a background in brain development and emotions, because when kids are 3 and 4 and 5, what's developing in them is their ability to regulate their emotion. So I know a lot about these things in that way. And like when you go through trauma, you tend to get stuck back in that really young child brain where you sort of just don't have the ability to reason. You know, it's just all emotion firing off. And if you can't kind of get yourself back down, number one, you're very easy to manipulate because you're not thinking with reason at all. You're thinking with your emotions. And I mean, yeah, I guess that's one. That's it. That's the most important one.
Yeah. You know, it's a challenge because it is so angering, it's so saddening, it's traumatic, yet as we engage in discourse, we have to try to remain calm, right? Because we don't want to come across as fanatical, as,
we have to understand where the other person is coming from, too. They're not stupid.
Yeah.
They just believe what they believe, just like you do. And honestly, who knows who's right?
Yeah, I mean, one thing I know that is right, where I think it kind of transcends that a little bit, is no one has come up with anything close to a good explanation as to why they have the right to overrule my right to say no.
Yeah, but and you don't have that right either.
Right, but I'm not the one imposing experimental medications on people, right?
But both sides are. I'm not saying you personally. I'm just saying people in general. There's a lot of still, like, people want to be vindicated at this point. Right? Like, I was right. It's like, okay, you were right all along. So what? Everybody's dying.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, and I'm not saying we shouldn't talk about it, but just the blaming part, if that doesn't stop, like, they're just getting over on us.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's so busy saying, like, see, I was right. You didn't believe me. And, there's over 5,000 data centers in America already. I just found that out.
Wow.
It's like they were built while we were occupied. They're trying to build one here now. That's why I'm finding out about it.
We actually have managed to get a caller on the line. We're having some difficulties with the phone lines over here at Progressive Radio Network, but we do have my good friend and former guest of this program and my Stop the Shots co-host, Julie Threet, on the line, who I'm very glad to hear from. Can you hear us, Julie?
Hey, you guys. Can you hear me,
Jeremiah? Yeah, I hear you great. How are you doing this morning, Julie?
I'm doing well. I tell you, this is, I just had to call Kristi. My mom died of the COVID vaccine, too, and your story just really breaks my heart, too, and it kind of brings it all back, right? She was healthy, completely healthy, and she took 4 shots because her government told her to, and she died suddenly. So I feel for your story just because of your mom having to go through the cancer, and my mom died on vacation suddenly, but we didn't talk about the vaccine either, because I'm like, you know what, we needed to just talk about life and the grandkids.
Yeah, be with each other.
Yep, 100%. So, for me right now, what I'm trying to do is find somewhere to test her blood and tissues to prove the vaccine killed her, because this destroyed our family.
Yeah.
My brother immediately had her cremated. Yep. So
my mom was cremated.
Yeah, but the state pathologist has all of her tissues in the labs in Wyoming, and so he told me once there's a test, we can run it through to find the manufactured vaccine spike, and then I want to start suing people. I'm so angry, and I don't think I'll ever get past the anger.
I don't think suing people hurts people. Honestly, I want actually real justice.
Yeah, 100%. So anyway, I did subscribe to your Substack, and Jeremiah, you can pass along my phone number to her.
Oh yeah, I will.
So, but I'll let you go and finish your story.
Well,
wonderful.
Thank you for calling, and I'm sorry about your mom too.
Yeah. It's tragic, all the way around. They murdered so many people. And, we just, every time we turn around, just when we think we're getting, one step forward, we get 10 steps back, right? It's like, Marty McCary, the FDA, it's not a black box warning. What?
Mm-hmm.
Sir,
no,
people are being killed all over the place.
I can talk about that too, but every time they give us something that feels like a little bit of something to celebrate, it ends up being nothing.
Yeah, someone pointed out they haven't even managed to remove red dye, which was their big triumph, and they didn't even do that. So.
No, it's voluntary in 2026 or something. No, it's always like that.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, we still have to start calling that out.
Thank you so much, Jeremiah, and tell Gary thank you for calling me and letting me dial in, because I did want to, again, there's so many people, Kristi, that are on our Stop the Shot space right now, and everybody's like, pass along our condolences. So if you can get on Twitter X and join our community, you'd get a lot of support too. So anyway.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, thank you so much, Julie. Kristi, if you could join us one evening on Stop the Shots, there's a lot of people who would be very receptive to your story. And and thanks to Kevin for getting Julie on the line. Like I said, we've been having some technical problems with the phones here, but I really wanted Julie, who lost her mother as well, to be able to.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many people.
So many.
And, with the way the kind of online discourse is, at least, nobody seems to be taking into consideration the people.
Yeah, not at all. It's just we're collateral damage, basically.
On both sides.
Yeah. And
suffering, the grief is also suffering.
Yeah, absolutely.
We have all lost.
Yeah, absolutely.
This battle, no matter what side you took, you lost. We lost.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously,
the human race has been injured.
They could do this to us, and they're just still in power all over the world. It's such a huge crime that I think it's sort of hard to see.
Yeah, it's
like trying to see an entire mountain range.
Yeah, it's pervasive.
Yeah, we lost, everybody. Now we just have to, we have to count our dead. We have to grieve the loss, and we have to figure out, how do we survive from here?
Yeah, and that's why this show exists. That's why we host Stop the Shots every night. That's why we have the right docs of history, who are the doctors who tried to warn the world about what was going on. We have independent journalists. We have courageous vaccine-injured people who are speaking out and continuing to do activism in spite of their physical difficulties, like Julie Threet, who was just on the line with us. We have people from all different walks of life, and we really need to come together beyond all of the various lines of division, because that's one thing I've been thinking about a lot, is how we want to be united, except these people should look this way or that way, or they should believe this. They should subscribe to what I subscribe to. And that's not unity, guys.
There's no way everybody's all going to all believe the same thing one day.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just not even realistic.
It's not.
We all are on our own journey.
We are.
We'll all get to believe what we believe at the time that we are meant to believe it. It's not up to us to decide what everybody else has to believe.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I decided that a while ago. That's not actually up to me, is it?
Yeah, so
they can believe what they want. I should just love who I love.
Yeah, and so we need to transcend those lines of division and really start focusing in on our points of unity. And I think in that we can achieve a lot, because these are unresolved matters by far, and they're the crimes that have already been committed, and then there are the crimes that can be committed on account of the stage that has been set through this COVID agenda and the biosecurity state template that they've ushered in through all of this. So if you could, because
how much time is there left?
We have 9 minutes basically, or maybe less.
I'm going to just real quick.
Yeah, please.
So anyway, I wrote the story on Facebook, and then it ended, and I don't know, the minute it ended, I sort of went into this deep depression. It was like my mom just died again. And then February, I believe it was, I started rewriting it on Substack.
Right.
In the meantime, so I rewrote it, and I did it the same way, one day at a time, because that's how it happened. And so I rewrote it, I edited it, and on Substack, I'm like a lot more forward than I was on Facebook. On Facebook, there was a lot more innuendo, like I was hinting to what might have happened more.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and I got about 1,000 followers, subscribers back then. And in the meantime, I've been doing art, and I've become a professional artist, which is also a whole other story. But I've just met people along the way who have helped me out, basically. All I can say is divine intervention. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so I have already written it once on Substack. And then I edited it. I tried to publish it. Didn't work out. I kind of very quickly didn't like the publishing industry. And I don't know anything enough about it to really like get into it anyway, I think. And I'm doing art. So then we rewrote it. My husband's been my editor the whole time. He's a English professor, so that was handy. And then at some point, I changed my Substack domain, and I broke all of my links. So at the end of each page, I put a link to the next page to make it easy for people to follow along. And so I recently started fixing my links. But to fix my links, I have to, redo each page and then send it out again. And so people are getting it again. And I've done a little writing in between, but not a lot. And now people are starting to read it again, apparently.
Yeah.
So I also just in December started my art website. So that's where you can find me, and that has a blog, which I think is where I will probably be doing new writing. That's all very new, but there's my plug. I'm also learning about marketing and all that stuff now. But yes, you can still read the story. It's free. I don't have a paid subscriber on Substack. Basically, that's where that story is going to be, and it's there for anybody who wants or needs to read it.
Yeah. Well,
I am working on grief. I'm working on, making a life. We're working on being self-sufficient.
Mm-hmm.
I came from Chicago. Now I have 30 chickens, and I bake my own bread.
Nice.
And I think that's the direction we should try to go, is stop depending on that system. I've learned all about herbal medicine. That's my plan now. None of us know how much time we have left here. It could be 10 minutes, it could be 20, 30, 100 years, who knows? But this is what I've decided to do with my time that I have left. And I would encourage everyone, figure out what it is you were meant to be here for. What were you passionate about when you were a little kid? And just try to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good advice.
That's how I think we fight the system, and that's kind of a nice way to do it too.
Right. So we only have about 5 minutes left here. Again, please go to Kristi Yapp Substack, Kristi, last name Yapp, and please also go to Doc Nanda's Substack, DOCNANDA, and that'll pop up. Don't type doctor, just Doc Nanda. And please subscribe to my Substack as well. Hopefully you're already subscribed. If you are already subscribed, well, then take 5 minutes and invite other people to subscribe as well. As there was a famous essay entitled, "A Single Spark Can Start a Prairie Fire." So please help me make a prairie fire out of this independent journalism. We really need to get the word out faster. We need to get more people involved in this conversation. And Kristi, I wanted to ask you, to what extent, if at all, have you noticed people waking up around this issue over the past couple of years? Has anybody come back to you and said you were right?
I mean, I live in rural Indiana now, and I will say compared to Cook County of Illinois, I've met many people. So there's just more people who were already awake when we got here. I mean, these are farmers. Mm-hmm. These are people who are already self-sufficient. They've been that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even close to that level. But, people who are like sort of living with the earth seem to have a better understanding of what's natural is what's real.
They can't
and
be tricked in the same
what we're seeing on
manner.
the screen is all manufactured. But the people that I know still from the Chicago area, as far as I know, nobody's changed their mind.
But I bet you
don't
most
know.
of them have not fully stayed up to date with their boosters. They'd be up to shot number 14 at this point.
Yeah,
if
I
they
don't know.
stuck
I
with
don't
the
even
agenda.
ask people that stuff anymore. Just
Yeah. Well, in asking
my mom
people,
she had at least 3 and possibly 4 before she got sick. I don't,
Well,
I know
when I
people
ask
who were
people-
still having boosters while she was sick and after she died, and people I knew in Chicago that witnessed the whole thing were still getting boosters.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I mean, when I come across the really tried and true vaccine zealots, the most I've heard is 7. So that's a lot of
Yeah.
shots, but it's like, hey,
but
you're
I
still
see people
7
with
shots
masks sometimes,
behind.
too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's absurd. But yeah, I mean,
I don't know. To the people that can't see it yet, I mean, I suppose there was a time when I didn't believe any of this. Before COVID happened, I thought the world was generally a nice, pleasant place, right? I thought most people were just nice people, and there were rainbows and puppies and
me
stuff.
too. It was quite a rude awakening, you could say.
Yeah, so I woke up so other people can too and do, but I don't know. You also, like, we all still all go out and get lattes. Like, it's sort of, to me, to be fully awake, you should be grieving. And I don't necessarily see that much.
Yeah.
But a lot of things seem sad. I mean, like everything, maybe that's just my perception, but people don't seem to be as, like, when you go to places, there's not as many people. It's not as fun as it used to be.
Yeah.
People don't go to movies and to festivals. It's just sort of...
Yeah, New York is a terrible example of that.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it's not the same place that I grew up in. I mean, I always explain to people that
everything's a little down. I mean, I think everybody's affected whether they are ready to admit it or not.
Yeah, if someone came to New York, I don't know, 15 years ago, I'd say by now, I can't even say 10, 15 years ago, I would have taken them here, this place, that place, and the other place, and I would have showed you these are places that exist in New York that you're not going to find anywhere in the world. All of those places I would have taken you to, first of all, they're all gone. And they're all replaced with fast food, commercial banks, commercial
That's coming
chains.
out here to the country, too.
Yeah, the original
I moved
places
away from it, and it's like following me.
are getting replaced with chains and, conglomerates and whatever. It's pretty sad to see. So, I mean, I want to thank you, first of all, for taking the time to join me here today, Kristi. And, again, please accept my humble condolences on the loss of your mother and your son. And I commend you for documenting your mother's experience. As painful as it is, I think it's a very important document. And we need more people to step up and start documenting in a similar manner what they have been through, what their loved ones have been through.
The grief is hard. People need time,
Yeah.
But I mean, look at your medical records, look at your texts. You have it all documented. I mean, think about it. We document everything all the time. It's documented. You just have to put it together.
Yeah. Good point.
So everybody can probably, at least put their story back together. If I hadn't written it down, I would not remember it, because as I'm releasing these pages again now and reading them, I'm like, oh, that happened. I forgot that it happened. I would not remember it.
When that kind of trauma occurs, it almost creates like a time warp and a reality warp around your head. So, yeah, I mean, I could understand what you're saying for sure. We're unfortunately out of time. But again, I want to thank you, Kristi, for joining me, and I want to commend you for your courage. And again, everyone, please subscribe to Kristi's Substack. Please help spread the word about her Substack. And please, let's think of what we can do in the new year to start making more of a difference. We're already making a difference, but let's make more of a difference. Let's dig in a little bit deeper. And one thing that I think we can do is we can support each other. Right, aside from any personal E = MC² type of moments, we can just support each other. Look for the good people doing good things and take time to support them. And it makes a bigger difference than I think any of us really realize. So on that note, Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, and to all of you atheists, I hope you had a nice day yesterday. But Happy New Year. I'll see you guys in the new year. And keep fighting the good fight. And join us on Stop the Shots tonight if you can. We're going to be resuming after a couple nights off. And there's always a lot to talk about, including today's episode of the Bassline. So stay strong, stay well. See you in the new year. Happy New Year. Peace and love.